Okay. My name is Matt Haynes. I'm the owner of the Twisted Track Gallery. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. A hot summer evening in Sacramento. There's a lot of great art out tonight, a lot of great Second Saturday shows, so I appreciate you taking the time to come here. I'd like to introduce a few people. First of all, I got Lisa Hayden standing next to me. She is one of the curators of the gallery. I also have Cynthia Liu. Cynthia, if you're around, can you?
Cynthia's back there.
Yeah, Cynthia's also one of the curators. And then also, I'd like to say thank you to Stephen Liu, who is also part of the gallery and also paints all the different art shows that we have. He did everything in this show but this, and Donald took control of this, so that's unbelievably beautiful. I met Donald a couple years ago when we did the Del Rio Trail. He did a beautiful show for the city of Sacramento, celebrated all kinds of artists. It was just a great night. So we got to meet him that evening. He invited me to his studio maybe about 6 months ago, and I got to see this incredible body of work that he's done, and we agreed to come here and do this. So yeah. I'm thankful. I think this is just spectacular in itself, and I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm going to give it to Lisa right now, and we'll go from there. But once again, thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you, Matt. I don't have too much to say except Donald, welcome. Thanks for throwing this garden party. It's pretty darn impressive.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, how long do we have? All right, yeah. You guys, it means so much that everybody came out. There are so many different areas and worlds that I exist in here in Sacramento, and I'm just like, it warms my heart incredibly to see all of you here. You are literally the ecosystem that I live in, and all right, I'm going to wax a little poetic here, but these plants are more than just plants to me, right? So every time I walk out into the space, these are lives, right? And so each plant is a life and a diverse, collection of lives. And that, to me, has just been such an incredible part of what I do here in Sacramento for the city of Sacramento. I'm privileged to be able to work with many folks that are here tonight, and run a public art program. But then at night, I transform and I work on my own personal work. So it's really terrific to be able to share this with you. I also wanted to just quickly say a couple thank yous. First, I want to just say thank you to my family for being here. My wife, Paz. My mother-in-law, Soledad, and my daughter, Katerina, are here with us today. And I thank you guys for putting up with me. Like I said, a lot of these things do happen at night. And so sometimes when everybody's gone to bed and I wake people up and all that. So thank you for being there and supporting. I also wanted to say a special thanks to Matt. Matt, you're a visionary. You're an entrepreneur. You are helping to build the creative economy and opportunities here in Sacramento. And so I'm privileged to be part of what you're helping to build down here. So thank you, Matt. This is awesome. And I know Matt already introduced them, but the staff here has been really incredible. I just met Dimitri recently, but I've been privileged to work with Nisa and Cynthia and Stephen. You guys, thank you so much. Spent a lot of time with Cynthia and Stephen. Thank you for putting up with me, Cynthia. And Stephen, Matt is absolutely right. I was working on this mural. Every day I was like, oh, I just got one more day left. Well, it took all week long. So he was installing all this work. So that was really quite a wonderful team effort. And then truly, I'm moved by all of you who I see and work with and am friends with in different capacities. And it is, you're what helps kind of inspire me and keep me going. Those kinds of interactions are what this work started as. it started as this idea that could I start to interact with every plant at this particular location, which, if it's no surprise, it is where I live, right? So it's 2 acres, it's a lot of space, it's a lot of fruit trees, and it's a lot of plants. And I started to look around at those plants, and I was like, this is incredible, the amount of biodiversity at this location. I will say, and now that I'm studying everything, I'm looking literally under a microscope sometimes, it's a unique area. There's not always that much diversity, but it builds and allows the area to be really, really kind of like a microclimate, because the trees support one another. Things are able to grow there in ways that they might not be able to grow in other places. Right now, I'm struggling with a willow tree because one tree has come down, and now there's so much more light coming, and the willow tree is just frying. So I've got a soaker hose around it, and I'm just trying to kind of keep it going. So it truly is not, although I'm interested in kind of botany, it's really plant ecology. It's how do those plants interact with all the other plants and organisms in the space. I'm not a scientist, though. I will say it's art, and it's kind of personal expression. So I love the science as a point of departure. It's what gets me excited. But then at the end of the day, I'm making aesthetic choices because I feel like they're kind of necessary for the work. And I'm not sure why. It just kind of it drives you. And if you're a maker, you understand what I mean. And if you're not, that's okay too. I want people to enter the work in different ways. One thing I wanted to explain to folks here is this is all done through a cyanotype process. Cyanotype's a very simple process. Mix 2 different compounds together. They're both iron salts. Combine them with water. You paint it on paper. It becomes photosensitive. It is the original blueprint process, right? That blueprints for construction drawings were made of. And then these are photograms. Really simple photograms of, people do with kids and all kinds of stuff. It's not the process of the making, it's the process of the learning. So I've always felt, even though I've painted probably over 60 murals around the country, I always felt myself more as a drawer, because I'm kind of exploring through drawing. Drawing is a kind of learning process. These to me are like drawings. So the handwriting is part of that. It's all kind of part of that learning process. I'm trying to learn about the plants. The idea that these plants became a mural came out of a trip I made with my wife to Portugal, and I saw these azulejos tile murals. And if you've ever seen them, they're blue and white small tiles, but they make up an incredible mural of images. And it was just so, and I came back and immediately started to make these a little bit larger to be able to do this larger mural. This work has become a kind of a library, a taxonomy of different plant types and portions of plants and things like that then has allowed me to create this other derivative work. So what I want to do really quickly, and I really am not going to spend too long, but I'm just going to kind of go around to share with all of you about a little bit of the different work here, and then answer some questions if you guys have any questions. So I told you a little bit about this. I think something that's important to recognize is I play with the mix of the chemicals, and I buy different chemicals from different places. So sometimes it's darker blue, sometimes it's lighter blue. I'm playing around with that chemistry. I'm organizing this in a way that just feels right to me. I had to say, I'm not sure if he's here, but my friend Billy came over, and he's a ecology PhD, and he immediately started looking in there, and he's like, oh, I can see what this type of insect is doing to this particular plant. And I found that really fascinating, because that can kind of inform like the choices that I'm making potentially, is like what's happening with these different plants as they live in the space. But from these plants come this other work. So these are a series of monotypes. So I basically take the plant that I've learned, I'll take this small plant. This is strawberry, the lovely strawberry, and I'll just look at the leaf, and I'll read about it, and I'll find out about some of the history, some of the cultural history, and some of the chemical history, and all of that, and make drawings of it, and then of course make the cyanotype. But sometimes that then leads to other work. So these monotypes are done, if you're not familiar with the monotype process, they're done on glass, right? So I'm painting on glass. Actually, it's plexiglass, but it could be glass. And I'm painting on that. I'm also using these resin powders that, for me, gave me an opportunity to kind of, just find a bit of magic in there, and limiting the color. So these come out of this work, and then each piece, there's a lot of pieces that don't make the wall, right? They're on the cutting room floor, so to speak. But that's part of the process. It's very gestural. It's very, it's different from this, which is much more of like a collection and a kind of daily practice, right? So I'm coming back and I'm finding the plant and putting it down. This is much more active. I'm worn out, literally, after doing these. I'll share these with you are silk screens. And I've spent a lot of time in print shops and photography studios over my years. And these were something I started to build. I started to make screen prints. I made a couple fun T-shirts. My friend Jaya wearing one there. And I'm not really a T-shirt maker, but I thought it was kind of interesting to try to play around with that form. So I thought I'd wear one today. But the idea here was that I would do a silk screen and then use the actual plant matter to make the image. So the rose is actually crushed rose petals, or the oleander is crushed oleander, or the black walnut is black walnut hull, lavender is lavender flowers. The Quercus lobata are the galls on an oak tree, and you crush them and you can make an oak gall powder. It's also one of the original kind of inks that was used for illuminated manuscripts. They used the oak gall ink. And then the last thing, the grape seed is crushed grape seed. So for me, that was a way to kind of connect with the plant in a slightly different way. And then the third series of work here that you see behind you is this whole series, Ficus carica tuberculum. And all these cyanotype photographs that you see are a portrait of one fig tree. So to me, it became a kind of magical fig tree. And when my father had passed away of lung cancer, I started to spend time at this tree. And then all of a sudden, it was like I had never seen it before. I started to look at the tree and I said, what are these strange tumors? I mean, the tree had been there for years and I never noticed. And all of a sudden, it opened up, like my eyes opened and I saw these tumors. And they're called galls when they're on a tree. And I started to photograph them. And I started to play with them. I created this booklet. I started making drawings of lungs. That he had small cell lung cancer. So I started making these drawings of lungs more as a kind of, cathartic process of drawing these lungs. But then these pieces came out of that and they became almost human-like for me, right? So that it's the plant, but it feels like, a human form. And that to me was some kind of magical thing that the biology that forms this tree also, could look like similar biology of our own organs or our own body. And then last little interesting thing, again, I was talking with somebody and actually I think it was Billy again. And Bill, and he said, he said, the fig tree, let me get back to you on that. And he comes back and evidently the bacteria that creates these galls on the fig tree is the bacteria that allows the CRISPR technology to bind into creating a new kind of organism, right? And so all of a sudden, this theory that, and it's not that I planned it, I'm not going through a traditional scientific process, but there's something beautiful, there's something incredible that comes out of this thing that had become a tumor on the tree. And for me, it was both poetic, but also just really important to share that work. And I want people to look at it and kind of gather with it what they can, but I've shared it with you today together, as the video, the book, and the 16 pieces. But I do see them also as individual works. So that's the work that you see here today. These are the monotypes. Yeah, the monotypes. And so there's 12 of these monotypes done with ink and sometimes some other added materials in the resin powder. Can I answer any questions? Does anybody have any questions or anything like that? I mean, I don't want to go on too long. As everybody knows, I can talk. Jaya.
What was your favorite plant to work with?
Oh, favorite plant to work with. what's kind of interesting is I do keep coming back to certain plants. I keep coming back to a lot of the different trees because I do care for these fruit trees. So when I'm taking the leaves off and looking at them, and I'm just looking at like the difference between different peach trees and stuff like that, it's really fascinating. But one thing that, and I don't know if I can identify an exact plant, but one thing that has been really fascinating to me is to start to kind of really dive into some of these native plants. Obviously the lowly dandelion that we all know, right? But like some of these native plants that exist at different seasons only, right? Or cheeseweed, you know, I don't know if I could find it here, but I did make one of the monotypes of it. You know, it's a strange plant that I had seen and that I never really thought too much about. And then I started to kind of investigate it. So I think that's been something that I can keep going back to is like, do I know what this plant is? And do I want to learn more about it? Yeah. Yes?
Which one is the most common plant in Sacramento and which one is the least common?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. We've got to ask we got to ask a real scientist there. You know, I mean, but there's everything here. So like, you know, somebody was asking me the other day. So, you know, red fescue, right? So there's different grasses, right? Because grass is one huge plant, right? And all these different like pieces. So I don't know. I don't know what would be the most common plant, but it is quite interesting. I was blessed. My parents loved gardening. And so I kind of grew up with a love for being around plants and gardening. At the time, I didn't love it. Dad would make me do stuff and we'd collect. He wanted to collect all the seeds from the pansies when they're like, it was just like impatience and stuff. He would just be collecting stuff and he was like, you've got to come over here and I need you to label this. And I didn't. And so, but it gave me an appreciation for that plant life. And I've just kind of tried to continue to learn ever since.
Like everyone is different in the way you display it, but is there a repetition?
Yes, there are occasional repetitions. So again, like I said, it's not science. It's art, right? So, but you know, so I'll just point out an easy one, right? So there's a dandelion. And there's a dandelion I had pointed out, right? So occasionally there are some. So if I see a plant and I want to do it again, I just do it again. You know, like, and then there's binders over there that are filled with more postcards. These started as small postcards, and I would mail them out to friends and family and stuff. And then I had this conceptual idea that I would document every single plant. And then I saw the azulejos and all of that. But yes, occasionally there's some things done because I felt like there was a need to make another one of that and learn a little bit more about it. So yeah, there are occasional, but there's about 200 different species. Thank you. Yes, see. Yes, you are.
What's next?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I'm always working on different things.
Now that we see this.
Yeah, she's done. Yeah. I'm still working on this work. This is the plant work isn't going away. I do have another series of pieces based on West Texas and oil and some of the family history and things like that I've worked on over the years. But right now, I'm not changing anything. I'm still investigating plants. Oh, thank you, Professor. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh, yeah, Sean.
So, now that you've been invested in learning about these plants, will you sign up on my apocalyptic team?
Yeah.
Shit goes down.
Yeah. Exactly, because you need somebody. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm there. Yeah. We got to learn how to forage. You know, and I can tell you what to eat and what not to eat. Yeah. So yeah. Hey.
Hey, how are all these stored? How do you store all of these?
The plants or the pieces? Yeah. Well, the nice thing about this is they all go together really nicely and into a folder, and then I just use acid-free, containers to be able to store things. So they're 9 by 12, and this mural can go into a small box. I have to say, over the years, right? I've been making art for a lot of years. I used to do things all different sizes. You might notice there's a similar size here. That just became a thing for me. Like I don't know, some people that know me know, like I pretty much am wearing like black, blue, and gray. Like there's not too much variation these days. I try to simplify things so that I can focus in on one area. So for me, I find the size that feels right, and I've been working on that. And maybe I'll change it, but storage is a thing. I've got a storage facility full of artwork, and as we're all, as Teresa, you have the work, and so size does matter, and I try to kind of think about what's right for the work that I'm doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Any other questions? Thank you guys. Thank you so much.